when we were growing up, we had legends. Like, in another 50 years, people are going to still be talking about Genesis.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
In another 50 years, the people who are popular now are going to it's just, who is it in the moment right now?
Yeah.
You don't have.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Cardi B for the next week.
Yeah, you don't.
The latest thing with Cardi B was she threw the microphone on some of the audience, and the lip sync track kept playing. Because, of course, she lip syncs.
Yeah. And
like that. So we did grow up in a golden age.
That's me, But the fact that I had a kid who wanted to go, and our next concert's going to be Ringo,
where are you seeing him?
In Charleston, West Virginia.
I didn't know he was coming there. That's great.
Yeah, Charleston.
Let's see when he's touring around here.
Yeah, he's not coming to North Carolina, or we'd be there. Because he actually came to Roanoke, which is like 70 miles east.
Yeah, that's not far.
For me, and I couldn't believe he came to Roanoke. But the house was only half full, and we were like, "What? It's Ringo Starr."
That's insane. That's shameful.
Yeah, so he probably will never come back. But that's why I said when he's coming to West Virginia, we got to pay like $24 in tolls to get to Charleston. But we're gonna go because I want my daughter to experience that. She's seen both Living Beatles, she's seen Genesis, and she's seen Bonnie Raitt. And I will get her to see whoever she's into now. She gets to choose a few too. I don't get to choose them all. So I'll get her to see these new ones that she's into now. But she's always going to remember, because she's going to be able to tell her grandchildren that she saw Genesis and both Living Beatles. I mean, those are the kind of memories that I want to create with her.
Together.
Yeah, because I never wanted her to be like, well, my dad couldn't do what other dads did. But I was gonna be like, no, I wanted her to say, my dad took me to cool rock concerts. Did your dad do that? My dad did. My dad took me to Disney World. So. So I'm, very, very, very proud of that. But we're off track again. When was it that you got into Phil Collins? How old were you when he became a hero of yours?
So let's do some count. Let's do some math. I was born in '68. I'm sure that I'm going to guess I was familiar with the song "Follow You, Follow Me" back in the day, which came out in '78.
Mm-hmm.
But I can distinctly remember, and it's funny. I can't remember who I was talking to. There's a little bit of a gap in my memory.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I can distinctly remember is seeing the video for the song Abacab on MTV, because Phil Collins in that video plays the drums and sings, which he never did live.
And you'll read in his autobiography that he doesn't do that because it's bad. The sound is bad when you do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the breathing and everything. So I very distinctly remember seeing the song Abacab and immediately liking his voice and liking the drum. And I was a drummer at that point. So Abacab came out in '81. I would have been 13 years old then, which is a year after I started playing drums.
Mm.
So that is definitely like a stake in the ground moment. I want to say Three Sides Live was really my gateway. And I can't remember, I had my first, middle school best friend that we met. He was also a drummer into music. It was like the first person you meet in your life that you have all those things in common. You're kind of wired the same way. He was the first person and I think he bought Three Sides Live about the same time my brother bought Three Sides Live. And my brother would always record cassette copies of his records and give them to me. And so this has to be around the 82-ish period. I would have been around 14 years old.
It's funny.
That Three Sides Live record in the Cage medley with all those keyboard solos. That's when I fell in love with Tony Banks.
Yep. There you.
And I'm rocked my world.
I'm so glad that you said that, because when Bella is in the house, she has YouTube, she has a tablet, and she listens to Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Billie Eilish, whatever she wants to listen to that we don't, right? But when we're in my van, she wants to play Genesis. And right now, the one that is in rotation, Three Sides Live, and the Cage version, her favorite member of Genesis is Tony Banks. She has written a letter to him personally because she wants to meet him and wants me. She thinks because I've gotten to interview a couple of cool people in my life that I can just say, hey, I want to interview you, and she doesn't understand. Why doesn't Tony Banks want to do my dad's podcast? You know, but she loves Tony Banks. She wants to meet him. I've got to, and I'll share with you. And she posted this. She was at my in-laws when we were having lunch on Saturday, which is sadly why she could not be there with you guys. But she was obviously very, very bored at my in-laws' house. And let me read to you. She saw a picture, and I can tell because U is spelled with just a U, so I can tell this is what she wrote. It's a picture of Tony Banks playing tennis backstage at a Genesis concert. Looks like from Three Sides Live. And she writes under my mother-in-law's name, I'm your biggest fan, Tony. I sent you a letter, but you have not answered. I love you so much. I wish you and Phil and Mike did not split up. I just have it in my heart that you are so kind. I wish you luck. I'm sorry I met my granddaughter. She didn't realize she was not talking as herself at that point. So she had to say, I met my granddaughter. My granddaughter sent you a letter. She is Bella Cooley. You can go on Zach Cooley's page, and you will see where he has a pic of on Facebook from y'all's Y''ALL''S concert.
That's proper English.
Concert in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2021, November. Love you. Try to get back to me. Is that not just
that's adorable?
The sweetest thing ever. And I said, he's probably not going to see that, but I'm going to put that into a letter, and we're going to send that letter again. We're going to try again.
Yeah.
Because, he is Tony Banks. How many 9-year-olds do you think he has wanting to meet him? That's very rare.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very rare. But, and of course, Phil's the one I want to meet, and he's the impossible one to reach. But hey, I feel like we're kind of on the same level now. His mobility is limited. I've been like, hey man, my mobility's been limited too. Now we're on the same level. Now let's sit down and have a real talk. But they were ribbing him about, you can't go out. You're not mobile. Well, you're not going to be able to stand up the whole concert. I wasn't able to stand up the whole concert either, but I had the best time of my life. If I could sing like that, not only at 70 years old, but at any age, I would be a lot less worried that I couldn't wipe my own behind. That wouldn't crop up so often in my daily thoughts if I could sing like him. You know what I'm saying?
Zach, that parallel was right from my face, and I never made the connection.
Yeah, I know. I kind of, when you become friends with me, you'll get used to these immediate left turns, and then we go right back into the center of the road. I don't get why, because he didn't have to come back out. He didn't have to come back out. He didn't need the money. He didn't need the money. Yeah. He didn't need the success. He didn't need none of it. But he came out.
And as many Phil Collins haters as there are out there in the universe. And then how many people questioned, I don't want to see him in that shape, and to not battle through, but just to
at
that stage, what people think doesn't matter.
Yeah, and okay, if you don't want to go, fine. That's more room for me. I'll make sure I get my seat, because I don't have money like this person does, and can fly to London and go see him here. And I don't think how much money you have it determines how big a fan you are. I think if you watch that YouTube clip of Bella hugging me and saying we're going to see Genesis, you ain't got a bigger fan than that little girl right there.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and you saw the video. You know what I'm talking about. So I don't get it. But it doesn't matter if he had to be in a wheelchair. He could wheel himself out there, and he's going to sell out till the day he dies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a guarantee. It's a guarantee.
Yeah.
And people like that always will. I mean, what he has done for my life, what he's done for your life, I have connected through the Phil Collins Network. Somebody read my book, the one you ordered. Somebody recommended, somebody in that Phil Collins group bought that book, and her sister has CP. And she wrote to me and said that book meant so much to me, and I had no idea that it would have that kind of an impact. It's very poorly edited because I had to do it myself. There's some wrong words in there because of voice activation, where I do it voice activated. You know, people think I'm a Martian, but I thought the basic thought was there. That's why I went ahead and put it out, but I had no idea that it would reach somebody like that.
Well, I read it. I read the first chapter last night before I went to bed.
Oh, okay.
It immediately grabbed me, and that's when I thought of Tracy, because again, it's a different journey, right? But she lost her husband untimely, and when I met Tracy, it was just I saw that tour 5 times. I had a problem, and I was looking to sell. I had a front row seat to Boston, and she was traveling the world, only getting like first 3 rows. And so we had connected through Facebook, and then, you know, just similar to the way you and I chatted, there was an immediate, you know, connection, and she wasn't shy about, you know, kind of the journey that she was on. And then when we got to meet in London, it's funny, I think I knew that she was going to, and she and I actually competed for the trivia contest, and it was we were among the 3 finalists to win like the grand prize. Mm-hmm. And there's she and I were like tied. We lost. We kind of tied for second,
right?
But because she had done so many things, she was gracious enough to let me get the second place prize, which was a tour book autographed by all the members. Wow. And I was lucky enough to, after the show, because we had the VIP stuff, which again it's not cheap. The organizer of the VIP event, when we were hanging out in front of the stage after the show, he yelled up to one of the roadies and was able to give me one of the used sticks, a pair of used sticks that Nick Collins used.
That's great.
So anyway, coming full circle, it was reading your book that reminded me of, you know, Tracy's journey, which is more of a period. You know, your journey is your life and your you know, what it's meant to you throughout your whole life. Yeah. I think her journey it's a point in time in her life, and how she drew on that for strength and purpose. Yeah. And again, has just created this crazy universe where I've met so many people now that know her story. And if you saw she did a video on Phil's birthday, a compilation video with a lot of people close to him. I'm in that video too. If you
wow.
listen to it, she asked me to be one of the contributors to that. So I was honored to be one of the super fans that she selected, because I will tell you this, I have a pretty big swagger in my trivia knowledge of less Phil Collins and more Genesis. Like my Genesis trivia knowledge is pretty scary.
Right.
And like I demolish the guys in Abacab when they try to like question me on a Genesis trivia fact.
Right.
But this lady, her knowledge of Phil Collins is like blows me away. Yeah.
She She eats, lives, and breathes Phil. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
and what I was going to say is the guy that won that contest, this is what's crazy. At the last London show, the 3 finalists in the trivia contest were 3 Americans. And the guy that won is a guy named Robert Widener. And he lives near Denver, which is where my daughter lives now. So last time I was in Denver, he and I had dinner together, and we've kept in touch. And again, just we were all at that show, and the deep friends and relationships you make. And what turns out, and you know this, there's something in the Kool-Aid, Zach. If you love this kind of music, you're not just a casual music fan.
No.
There's something else in your DNA.
Yeah.
And what I find with people like you and Tracy or Robert Widener is we had a whole dinner, and I think we talked about Genesis for maybe 20 minutes. We had so many other things in common, or things that were not in common that intrigued us about each other. He's just a great guy, and I swear to God, there's something special about people that love this music as opposed to people that love a different kind of music.
Yeah,
I can't describe it.
And what Phil doesn't understand is that he brings people like us together. The woman that I was telling you about that had the sister that had CP, she lives in Florida. When she heard Bella and I were going to go to Genesis, she sent me $500. She said, this girl, it needs to be a first-class experience. And that paid for 2 of my tickets.
Love it.
You know, just we've never met each other. But there's a second book of mine that you need to get, and it talks about my D.C. trip when I go to D.C. to see Phil. And
yeah, I was gonna say I looked at I think I've got most of your books on my wish list because I looked at least on Amazon.
Okay, well, the one
you as the author.
Yeah, well, the one you need to get is called Another Day in Paradise, actually.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And you need to get that one because that talks about my trip to DC and the issues that I had there, getting to go see Phil, and I actually interviewed Kathy Giro and a couple other people that I connected with over Phil Collins, and had I known
another one that I saw was your book on your father, Herb Cooley.
Yes,
that looks very interesting.
Well, that of all the books I have, that one's my favorite because I was able to interview 24 or so of his colleagues over a 50-year career and present him with a printed up rough draft and do it right under his nose. He had no clue I was doing it.
Love it.
It was a complete surprise to him. And that book and another book that I wrote about my great aunt called Hazel's Little Bud are my bestsellers to this day. But when I say bestseller, I mean they've sold over 100 copies. It's not like
it's kind of like being in the trees band too. You know, we don't.
Yeah.
Or you know, we talked about Pete's original project and James's original project, and James and Cliff also play in an original band. Selling original content is difficult. It just is.
Yeah. And like, you know, you have to be one of about 15 people where you can put your name on it, and it doesn't matter how good it is or if it's a piece of crap, it's going to sell. It's going to go to the top of the bestseller list, which is why I don't really write books anymore. I've taken to playwriting, and that's another thing that we were discussing. I have what I believe is a decent play in Dusty in Memphis. You heard my wife sing for 2 seconds, and you know that she can sing, not sing, sing.
Right.
And Bella will be able to sing, too. I can't carry a tune in a bucket. I just used to stand in front of the television with a flashlight while the studio video played over and over and pretend I was Phil Collins. There's another great story when my dad's best friend, his name was Bill Collins, and they would mention him, and I would always think they were saying Bill Collins. So I was probably inside the house watching Phil Collins videos on TV, because I used to put a VHS tape in the VCR and record my favorite videos on MTV and VH1 back when MTV stood for music television. People don't realize that's exactly what it used to be. Or VH1 was Video Hits 1, and there's none of that now. But anyway, my dad came in and said, Bill Collins is outside. And I said, he is? And I was so excited. So I go outside and I see this man who is not who I was expecting to see. And I throw an absolute fit on that poor man. I threw a temper tantrum on that poor man because he was not.
How old were you again?
I was probably 4 at this time, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Collins is outside.
Really.
He is. You know. Yeah. No Jacket Required was number 1 when I was born. I'm pretty sure I was jamming to him in the womb.
And I was in the 11th grade when No Jacket Required came out, and I saw that tour.
Yeah.
My first Genesis tour was 1983, the Mama tour.
Fantastic.
My parents took me and my best friend Joel to see that. Fantastic. And I also remember,
because I've heard the Greensboro show. It's amazing.
Yes, I have. I actually recorded the Greensboro show.
That was you that recorded that?
No, well, let me clarify. My recording is really terrible.
Oh,
but I snuck a small tape recorder in, and if you've seen a bootleg, it's not mine because I haven't published it, but I did record it, and I've actually listened to it. It was terrible quality. But I remember, so that was nice. The record came out in '85, I think. Yeah, it was 85 when I saw it, and I'll never forget going to school the next day. We all had our No Jacket Required concert shirts, and there's that on the back of the shirt was the cover of the album, him in that orange glow, sweaty orange. Yeah, and just like the girl sitting behind me, like freaking out because this man was staring at her the whole time in class on the back of my shirt. Yeah, those are good times.
Yes, what an album that was.
You know, I'm dating myself. I will tell you that I didn't dislike the album when it came out, but I'll never. So remember, before that was How Well I Must Be Going.
Right.
And I'm a drummer. What's the first? I remember I went to Joel's house. And we put that record on at his house. We bought it at Camelot. He bought it at Camelot Music at Haynes Mall in Winston-Salem. We got to his house, put that record on, and the first thing we heard was Sussudio. There's no real drums on it. It's like this, it sounds like 1999 Prince.
Right.
And which I love Prince. So I remember when I first heard that song, I was like, this is a killer drumming Phil Collins.
Yeah.
But quickly, it grew on me. I mean, every song on that, the songwriting, every song on that.
But you have to think about, for me, if you're a baby sitting in a car seat and that and that repetitive rhythm comes on with that horn section, I was jamming out, and I would have my mother play it over and over and over again, to the point that if she hears the studio today, she turns it off because I went through years of that. Thank you. But that ended up being, I have a video of Bella being 2 or 3 years old dancing to the studio, and it's like, yes, I've passed the torch, But with Hello I Must Be Going, when that one turns on, you have I Don't Care Anymore.
Oh, I love that song. And I used to play that song. That was every year in college. It's a silly, stupid tradition. I completely forgotten this till you said it was your application of the song. I'll never forget every year when I would finish the spring semester and be off for the summer in college. That was my play music. right? It was like for 3 months, I don't have to care about studying, grades, anything.
You bet.
And you know what? I think when I retired, that's got to be my walk off music.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Yeah. There you go. That's it. And I guess you notice as a drummer too that the In the Air Tonight drum solo, the da 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 da, is also in Through These Walls.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's a total rip, yeah. But you can plagiarize yourself.
Yeah, but you don't have to get the rights. Yeah.
Oh, I will tell you, there's another time that Pete and I do this together live. If you listen to Seconds Out, so this predates In the Air Tonight.
Right.
Seconds Out during Los Indos. They do that fill together.
Oh, wow. And he does the I Can't Dance at the end of the Invisible Touch video.
Now that I have not noticed.
Yeah, we'll have to. You see him doing that, with the sticks right before you see him walking in that big hamster wheel.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much.
All right. Well, always fun to hang out and capture it. I look forward to hearing it.
Anytime. And anytime you're back in town, please call us, let us know. Let us create more memories, and I hope I'll hear you play another show again.
We'll make that happen.
It's the next best thing. It really is the next best thing as far as excitement of a show as seeing Genesis play. I mean, it's as close as you're going to get to the real thing without getting to the real thing.
It's my favorite thing to do as well.
So thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Zach.